In 1985, Dokken released their album Under Lock and Key, and my friend Jeff and I are going to talk about it on this episode of Records with Ray. Was Under Lock and Key the first album that you got from Dokken?
Yes, it was. It was.
What made you decide to get it? Did you hear it first on MTV and decide you wanted to get it? Did you see the album cover?
I think it was MTV. May have been a friend, I can't remember, that maybe had it.
Yeah.
And said, hey, you got to listen to this stuff. But, and Chain the Night was the song. Another one was Lightning Strikes Again.
Yeah, that's a great song.
Huge. Jaded Heart. Jaded Heart went in a whole different direction than those two other songs. Very melodic.
The Hunter. I'm the Hunter.
Exactly.
That song is it's such an anthem.
Mm-hmm. And then, this
and
song.
It's not love that left you standing.
It's not love. Okay, anyway. Boy, that's scary, isn't it?
Why, baby, why?
Okay, there we go. Okay. But, the best song ever that was chosen to finish that album was Till the Lovin' End.
Yeah.
And that thing just went. With the guitars, with the vocals, the whole thing. Wow. That was the song that truly finished that album off. And then you were ready to turn that tape back over and listen on Chain the Night.
So Under Lock and Key from Dokken was their third album.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, you had there was Breaking the Chain.
Mm-hmm.
Tooth and Nail, and then Under Lock and Key.
Right.
I've been a fan of Dokken pretty much from the beginning. I remember seeing the video for Breaking the Chains, Breaking the Chain on MTV long time ago. Got into him then, got Tooth and Nail. Mm-hmm. Loved Tooth and Nail. Mm-hmm. And then 1985, Under Lock and Key came out. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you what, if there's anything that stands out on this record, it's George Lynch's guitar playing.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a guitar playing genius.
Yeah. Genius. Why do you say that? And you consider him to be one of your best favorite guitar players.
One of the best, I consider. I mean, you guys had like Eddie Van Halen. Yeah. Oh my gosh, you could tell when he do a guitar solo that he was trained classically or knew jazz.
Yeah. Because
of the different kind of scales and things he would go through.
Yeah.
Okay. George Lynch. It was rhythmic, but it was very melodic, what he was able to come up with.
Yeah.
Sounds that no other person put out. And it was a lot through being creative with guitar effects, I believe. Repeater type things and all that, But, Ray, I didn't understand, or I didn't know Dokken much, except for maybe one song, like you said, on MTV, until Under Lock and Key came out. That was the album of all albums. Since I grew up in Seattle, a lot of people talk about Heart. Okay, they had Dreamboat Annie and they had Barracuda and all these songs, but in 1985 they came out with their Heart album. Okay, with a whole different sound.
Yeah, the band Heart that was around in the 80s was a lot different than how it was in the 70s.
It was true.
And even the music in the 70s was like, it was hard rock, but it was like hard rock for the 70s.
Right.
It wasn't like...
But just like that Heart album kind of put Heart into a different place, a different sound, I believe Under Lock and Key did that for Dokken.
Yeah.
It really shaped who they were, what their sounds were.
Yeah.
And, Unchain the Night, amazing song. Don Dokken's voice coming through. What an amazing vocalist. But then George Lynch with his guitar work. He was very melodic, but he was very rhythmic.
I remember seeing the video for In My Dreams.
Yes.
And that guitar solo that he does is so fast.
Yeah.
That it doesn't even sound real. What would you consider Dokken to be? Were they a hair metal band? Were they a metal band? Were they a hard rock band?
No, I don't think they were a hair band.
Yeah.
But they weren't like a Metallica.
No.
They were kind of in their own.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. And that's the reason I like them so much.
Yeah.
In 85, prior to that, we had Van Halen. Mm-hmm. We had The Foreigner. We had the Loverboy stuff. We had Journey and all that.
Yeah.
and it was kind of getting into, some of the other bands along the way, that turned into that hair metal thing. But I think Dokken kind of stood on their own.
Yeah.
For a while.
They definitely weren't glam by any means.
Not at all. No. Not at all.
I mean, how much of a glam band could you be where your guitar player has a guitar that looks like a skeleton? The thing I love about Dokken's Unchained the Night is it came out in '85, and it was a time where a lot of people don't realize this, but like in the early '80s, the mid '80s, going into the late '80s, like hard rock, like rock and roll, metal was king on MTV.
Truly.
If people forget, like when people think of like MTV, they think of like, oh, Cyndi Lauper and Madonna and
Michael Jackson.
And that stuff was popular and big, but that's like the early 80s.
Right.
82, 83.
In Madonna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like in the mid 80s, up, like hard rock was king. I mean, I remember like they'd have the MTV countdown, and like every day they'd have what are the top 10 videos.
Right.
They were always hard rock bands. I remember seeing those videos on MTV all the time.
And remember who the guy was that led that whole thing about the metal?
Adam Curry.
Adam Curry. Yeah.
I think he went on to do the like one of the first like real popular podcasts too, actually.
Really? Yeah. Really? Now I just remember Adam Curry really well because every guy wanted his hair and every girl wanted him.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Adam Curry through MTV was the guy that helped push that certain niche of rock and roll in the 80s, that metal thing. That was huge. And Dokken, oh man.
If there was anything that I miss about the 80s, I miss that like at that point in time my music was the music, was the popular music. And I think that personified in Dokken's Under Lock and Key.
True. If there was a time for you to go back, maybe not to the age you were during that certain year, but if you can be 18, 19, what year would you go back to? 85, 86, 87? No. I would see. I look at it thinking, "Oh, okay. Here's all this stuff."
I'm not one of those people that like that has any desire to like really go back in time.
Really?
No.
Interesting.
No, because I don't know. As they always say, it's like you look through the past with rose-colored glasses. But God, man, I grew up in the middle of nowhere, in a very, very small coal mining town.
Right.
There was like nothing to do. There was, we didn't have the internet and stuff like that. We keep on talking about MTV. I don't want to admit this, but it is the truth. MTV had way more influence on me,
right,
on my musical tastes than I like to admit. Whether it been, there's so many different bands that I've gotten into because of MTV. Like we're talking about Dokken, but like Suicidal Tendencies, The Bad Brains, Jesus and Mary Chain, like all these bands across the board. Saw it on MTV.
Yeah. So true.
And it wasn't the internet. It was watching a video. Watching videos that MTV decided to play.
In my home, when I grew up in the 80s, my parents didn't have MTV.
Yeah.
We just had the regular, over-air broadcast stations. I had to go to a couple different friends' homes. And I remember sitting up to 1, 2 in the morning watching these videos. And another great band I loved, which was just rose above some others, some people hated them, was White Lion.
White Lion.
Oh my gosh, what great stuff.
Vito Bratta.
Yeah. And, it was those bands in there. I mean, we had all the other ones, AC/DC and Van Halen and those bands that carried all the way through to the late 80s or so. But there were those new ones that popped out here and there. Dokken was one.